Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to CodeChef College Chapter's National Fiesta. My name is Shweta Sharma and I lead the outreach and partnerships at CodeChef. In this Fiesta, we organized a 3 day long extravaganza with top programmers, and today is day 3, the last day. So, if you haven't subscribed to CodeChef's official channels yet, please do so. This will encourage us to organize more such events for you in the future. And coming to today's theme, it's strategies to master competitive programming. And for that, we have someone who is an IIT Kanpur graduate. He has previously worked as a software development engineer at Rippling. He's an ICPC 2016 World Final Qualifier. He's a CM1 CodeForces and currently a 6-star coder at CodeChef. He's none other than Triveni Mahatha. Welcome to the call, Triveni. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Sweta, and welcome everyone. And hi to everyone. Yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I hope that this is going to be a good session.
Yeah, I'll take your leave now. Over to you.
Cool. So, if someone can hear my slides, then I think like without wasting much time, we should like straight away come to the point, and then I can carry it from there. Cool, guys. So, in well, Yeah. So in this session, what we are going to do is basically I want to give you my tips and my learnings, and basically we are going to talk about a few things that we can do to improve competitive programming as a student or whenever like you want to start it. So cool. So let's move on to the next slide. So I hope you guys are excited as well. So in my opinion, there are basically two or three broad things that everyone must do, and we can have them like based on like how you are doing and what is your feedback. You can have your own strategy. So I think like the first stage is prepare yourself that okay, now you are going to do CP and basically you want to do something like you have some target. So, for example, what it can be key, okay, like I want to qualify for ICPC World Finals, or maybe like I want to just like get rank one in CodeChef Long Challenge, or just that like I want to do like CP for the next few years. So you can have like some target like that. So you need to like prepare for that. And preparation matlab preparation doesn't mean exactly how you are going to solve the problem, but basically you are like getting ready to explore this thing, the how you could do it. I think the most important point is to have friends who are also doing CP, and this is like any other competition or any other preparation that you are doing. So the most important thing is to have friends, and when you have a lot of friends who are doing CP and or any other thing, then doing it together is a very like so you won't get bored, right? Like if you have one idea, then the other person will have some idea, and you always keep gets engaged and try new problems. Someone solved one problem, then they will discuss it with you, and you will also share your idea. So it's a lot of fun, and also you learn a lot. Especially this is very helpful in the beginning. That's my opinion. So having friends who do CP, and if possible having or mentors who will guide you that like what is the right path or the right way to move. So that way I think that is the most important thing. So have friends. Maybe like initially you won't have friends, but when you start doing it, like you can have friends, if not physically but like on online platforms, like you can get friends. I think that is like the most important thing in my opinion. Okay, I see a lot of questions here. Same resources, math prerequisites. I think like I am gonna cover all these questions a little bit later, and till then let's talk about like this preparation phase. That like how you prepare for doing CP. The next important thing is basically we're learning topics and all those things is cool, but when you take part in contest, in long challenges, in short contests, then you have that adrenaline rush that, and you like push yourself to uh, basically perform very well in a short period of time or in within a given constraints. So that is also like very very important, that not only teaches you how to solve a problem, but that teaches you a lot more things. I'm gonna cover like these things a little later, like what exactly you learn from these. But it's important to note that this is not all about learning the data structure or a DP problem or any particular topic string processing algorithm. So when you do take part in contest, you develop a very very important and core skills. Uh, so that is also very important in my opinion. That taking part in contest on regular basis, then obviously like when you solve problems, some problems you will be able to nail it, and some problem maybe like not that well. So in those cases, in my opinion, you have to have like go and read the tutorial, absolve it, basically read the tutorial, understand it. If you think there is a like advanced content, then like Google search about it and then like read about all those things, and finally code it. And when you code it and get it accepted, then actually you can say that okay, like you have learned it, you have earned it. So anything that you get for free is like not that good, but like when you put effort, you read the tutorial, like think about it and code it, then only you realize that okay, like you have done something. So I think that is very very important thing, and you learn new stuff like that only, and at a pace like which is desirable, instead of wasting, for example, like 3 4 days on second problem of a long challenge. So you can of course like do that, but that is not efficient way in my opinion. So you should like spend some time, think about it, and if you are not able to do it, then just go and read the tutorial, absolve it, and when you get it accepted, even after that, I think it is helpful when you go and see the program or the code that the other contestants have submitted. So that way like you see how to write a code in a better way or in a different way, and things like that. Or maybe like somebody has solved it in a completely different way, so you go and like learn about that thing as well. So these are, I think, a basic thing that you need to like get ready for. Don't get bored and don't get too serious, like chill out. uh, you may be like dedicate some time for CP, but like it should not be that like okay, I am doing CP all day and all night. That way you are certainly going to get bored. Not only CP, but if you are doing anything and you dedicate too much, just don't get like too much pivotal, and just like chill out. That will refresh your mind. And I think these are like broadly a few things that you need to keep in mind, and prepare yourself for the contests. Then once you are ready, then there is the second phase. How do you actually strategize and improve your contest performance, or in general in CP, or learn more things, right? So there will be a shortest path, optimal path, and then there are many paths. So how do you basically tend to move on the optimal path for your own improvements? So that is basically what I will categorize under the strategy. So how do you strategize and how do you basically improve your performance? So at this point, let me go through the questions and like see if there is any relevant question. Sir, sir, can you tell me roadmap to CP? So I'll go. So how is goals and goal different? Okay, I think like there are a few questions that I will answer in some time. Cool. So how do you strategize, right? I think like this is very very important, and most people are not good at it initially, and I was not good at it. I was in fact like very bad at it, and it took me a lot of time to learn things that I could have done a little faster if I had known these things earlier, or I had like some experience in these areas. And I think like this is true for most of the people, most of the students. We are not good at strategizing, but this is a very very important thing. So your strategy should not be like vague, and it should just not be like too vague that okay, I will solve 250 problems on Spoj, or I will solve 250 problems on CodeForces. That is a plan, but like I think that is not a good plan. you could do better than that. So your strategy should have a definitive strategy, like it should be definitive exactly what you need to do, and should have an actionable plan. Matlab, you should know that like what exactly I need to do the next day or like at the current time. And strategy should be planned in such a way that you can easily track your progress on a regular basis. Then only you will know like what are your shortcoms and then, like how you can improve those. So just having like some plan, okay, like I want to solve these many problems, and you go, okay, like I have solved, like instead of 250 I have solved 240 problems. So maybe not good, but like good. So this is not that helpful. But let's say like you have a feedback like in the last month I used to solve the top coded div1 250 problem with 90% of the problems in under 10 minutes, and but in this month I can like do that 95% of the time. Or maybe like you will see, okay, in the last month I was able to solve suffix array problems 40% of the time, but after learning suffix array, suffix tree and try and all those data structures, like this month I am able to solve at least like 60% of the problem on my own, and these many problems after reading the editorial. So you know that like you are progressing. And but you can also have a situation where you will see that, okay, from the last 2 3 months I was able to solve only 20% of the problems where there was a probability question or expected value question, and I'm still only able to solve those many problems. That means that you have identified that this is an area that you need to improve on. um, and that is only possible if you track your progress, right? You track your progress and only you know like what are the actions that you can take and whether you can improve or not, right? Where to improve or what to not. um, at first, like it may feel that when you are doing problems, you will think that, okay, I am like good at these things and I'm not doing good at those things. But when you have a plan, you will also know key what are the things exactly that are coming in the contest, and many more things, right? So that's why I say you should have a definitive strategy and actionable plan, and you should track your progress regularly, and you must make commitments. So how can you make commitments? That okay, Shweta, can we move to the next slide? Yes, matlab, commitments can be like this. Solve X top order D1 250 problems in the week. Solve X long contests first 5 problems in a month. Within 3 hours, within 4 hours, you can like set your own parameters. Solve X problems involving suffix array, tree, try KMP, etc. And then they create a spreadsheet to track all these and take notes. So if you move on to the next slide, you will see that like how we used to track our progress, like just like this. So on the left column we have SRM number and the 250 problem, 500 problem, and the 1000 problem. I used to take like note. Green means okay, like I was able to solve the problem. Yellow means okay, I need to read editorial. Red matlab okay, hilani next time. So and short comments like that. So you can have your own parameter, you can have your own spreadsheet in your own way, and different columns, different kind of comments. But basically the point is, I could clearly see that okay, last month the amount of green was maybe like 70%. This month like the amount of green is like this much percent. And I could see that like what are the areas where I had yellow marks and what are the areas where I had red marks. And then only I will know that what I need to read and what to improve, right? So I'm not saying that like you also should have like this kind of spreadsheet, but like you should have some kind of spreadsheet or some kind of note taking exercise, so that you are taking your exercise, and basically you can like compile them, you can analyze them, and you will then only know how you are doing and what are you doing good and when where you need to work. So these are basically, I think, some of the ways to strategize. You can make commitments like based on the feedback that you get from your track report, and then you spend time on different areas. For example, let's say like you are not able to solve problems on strings, so you go and like read suffix array, try like all the data sets that you hear about, and then then try like those kind of problems again, and then you will see that okay, like you are definitely going to improve, right? Otherwise, just like let's say you came out of a school and you are good at number theory or maybe combinatorics, and you will keep on solving combinatorics problem for a long time, you will see that okay, like I can solve like many problems, but then that is not actually reflecting your performance, right? Because you are not trying like different kind of problems often. But when you take part in contest, you know that like what are the kind of problem that comes, and then like what kind of problems you are able to do and where you need to work. So I think if you have the preparation, then you can have your strategy. This is the most important part and specific part in my opinion for improving your cp. So this is one thing. um, Let me take some questions. And yeah, like the second slide that Sweta, can you like move to the second slide? So you can have these kind of analysis as well. So okay, the first 10 minute, I should definitely do the first problem. The next 10 minute, at least like spend some time on the second problem before moving to the third problem, and then like think about this problem. Things like that. You can have your own plan and try to stick to that. See if it works or not. If it doesn't, then like see like why it is not working, and then like fix it accordingly. So these are just like a rough and vague numbers, like these are not real numbers, and these words are just like for example demonstration purpose only. Uh, so you can have your own plan and see if these things work or not. Cool. Now I'm going to take some questions. Cool. So math prerequisites, please, and minimum days required to get started with CP. So active terminal is asking, can you put that question on the screen? Is it possible? Active terminal from YouTube is asking math prerequisites. Yeah. So, in my opinion, to get started with competitive programming, the best way to start with is like start with things that you are already familiar with. So, what are the things you could be familiar with? Just like if you are fresh out of school, then maybe you are familiar with mm, like simple math problems, simple counting problems, and things like that. Maybe like you are not aware of graph data structure or anything like that, but you are aware of counting problem, addition, multiplication, combinatorics, probability question. So just like start that, whatever you are familiar with. So that way you will have the beginning, and then you will realize that what you need to do next. So prerequisites, I will say, start with like whatever you know, and then you will know that like things that need to be done. If you feel that like you need to study like specific topics in maths, then do that. So that will be the prerequisites. But in my opinion, the things that I have seen often that comes in contest problems are number theory, combinatorics problem, basically counting problems, uh, and just like 1 second. Yeah, cool. 1 second, sorry. Cool. Then like you will realize that what you need to study. So in my opinion, it's still like probability counting, expected value problem, number theory. These are like frequently asked questions in contest problems. These are not prerequisites because, as I said, like you could start with anything that you are already familiar with, and then you can keep on learning the new things. Good boy, your question is, I am not able to solve even easy questions. What to do? Good boy. Then again, like as I said, like solve the problems that you are already able to do the questions. If you say like there are not any questions that you are able to solve, I think that means that you need to learn a little bit more before starting CP, and maybe like you need to learn some programming as well, like some language, C++ or something else, and learn at least like some basic thing, because I feel that there are like fairly easy problems as well as like moderately hard and like even harder problems. So all kind of problems are there on CodeSafe, Spoge, CodeForces everywhere. So like pick anything that you are already familiar with, and then you will. Then I think like it should be easy to follow from there. Ankita Tiprewala, does typing speed really matter? Yes, Ankita Tiprewala, typing speed does matter. But let me give you one example so that like it is exactly clear. So let's say you are in front of a mango tree and you want to have a mango. Okay, so there are many mangoes in the tree. Some mangoes are there in the are very low, and you can just like pick them from your hand and like pull it and you can eat it. But some of the mangoes are also there at the top, so at the very top. It's not easy to get those mangoes. You have to like climb there or like throw stones and then like get the mango fallen and then like you can eat it. So but eating mango is important for you. But then you could simply like pick the one that is very low, and then only like you can go to the top and like try to pick that mango. So what I'm saying is basically try to do things which are low hanging fruits. Low hanging fruits means like what like easy to achieve. Now what is easy and hard is a subject like which depends on like person to person. Someone who is coming from mathematical background, maybe like for them it is easy to like do math problem. But someone who has a like experience in typing, maybe like that is easy for them. So see like if it is easy for you, then like pick that, because there are many areas to improve. And in general, at least like from my experience, I think typing is pretty important, but like not that important, at least in the beginning. So think like see if it is the low hanging fruit for you, do it. If it is not, then you have to like pick the low hanging fruit first. Pradeep Kumar, is STL in C++ necessary for CP? Pradeep Kumar, it is very useful for sure. Is it necessary? I think like even C++ is not necessary, or yeah, Java is even not necessary. So like this kind of Boolean statement, I think are always misleading. So you need to like think about it probabilistically, and to what extent, right? So to what extent STL is necessary? So in the very beginning, when you are starting to write code and when you are starting to do CP, they are not that important. But when you learn the basic stuff, when you know how to run a for loop, when you know how to play with the arrays, multiple dimensional arrays, and you know how to do the simple math problem, and if you think that you are not able to efficiently do things that are already available in the STL, then it becomes necessary to learn the STL. So yes, it is necessary, but at what stage you are asking? If it is the very beginning, maybe not that important. But if you are familiar with the basic stuff like very well, then STL is the next point that you need to focus on. Bhavya Sahukari, you are asking, can we use Python for CP? Bhavya, yes, why not? So you could use any of the available programming languages for CP. But see, every programming language is designed by keeping certain things in mind. So uh, s- Python may be like useful for some purpose, but like it may not be like that useful for like some other purpose, right? But I think for CP, Python is like okay. You will see most of the problem you should be able to do in Python, but many people prefer C++ or Java because it is the first language that they are taught in their college or school, number one, and it is very fast in the sense that like in CP problems, your code needs to be very fast, and C++ has that thing, that is the quality that it has. That's why like people prefer C++ or Java and languages like that. Python is very useful in doing complex things in a smaller code. Uh, so that is how I should answer it probably. Yeah, so you can use it in Python, but like Many candidates do it, many contestants do it, not a big deal. Some cool. So I think like there are many questions, and I will try to answer more of them at a later stage. But before that, let's like move on to the next slide and discuss these things, and then I am definitely going to answer all these questions. Yeah. Can we go back to the previous slide? So, okay, I think like there is a slide where there are questions. So yeah, yeah, right. So since I'm answering questions, I think like these are some questions that we collected before the session started by a Google form, and I think these are fairly generic questions, and maybe many different derivatives of forms of these questions are being asked in the chat. So that's why let's like answer them one by one, and then I will also try to answer your questions. So how to approach a question? This is like a very important question. Sir, how do you get the idea? Like how do you know that like you have to do the problem in that particular way, right? So this is like one question. Just like give me one second, guys. Let me bring my pen tab so that this will be easier for me to explain. Just one second. I'm not entirely sure if I can write on the screen, but if I can, let me check. Oh, well, it's not really. So, anyways, how to approach a question, right? The first thing first, read the question, see what the question is saying, and take some examples. Take the sample test case. It's like if let me see if I can share my screen. I think that will be like too difficult. Anyway, so how do you approach a question? So first, like read the question, understand what the question is saying, and dry run on your examples. Maybe start with the ones that are given at the end of the question. So this is helpful in two ways. First, like you understand what exactly the question is asking, and then you observe of certain things. So how let me take an example. So let's take question from October 20 long challenge. And so the question was that you are given an array and you could only update the element at the kth position. So you are given an array, sort the array, and in the sorted array you can update the kth element in the sorted array and replace it by any values. Then you want to achieve at some other index p uh, some particular value x. So this was the question. But let me try. I'm trying to share my screen, guys. Okay. So yeah. One second. Like I'm trying to share my screen because this way. Yeah. ठीक है. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. Are you able to see my screen? Can someone confirm? ठीक है. तो question was something like this. So you are given an array which is a sorted array. Okay. So for example, something like this: 7, 4, 3, 2, 1, something like this. And you are given that you can update this element, the kth index, always in the sorted array, kth element. So you can update this element, and in some particular some other index, like let's say like this index, this pth index. Here you want to have an element which is equal to 6. Okay, in the sorted array, obviously. For example, like if I replace this 2 by 5, then what will be the new array? So the new array will look like this: 7, 5, 4, 3, and 1. So we replace 2 by 5. So this is the new element. Okay. So, and we can clearly see that the new element is 5. And the question was saying that like we want to achieve that in this particular index the value should be 6, or any particular value x. Let's say this is a problem. Okay, so how do we solve this problem, right? So when I say that like run it on like some sample cases, what do I actually mean? तो क्या करेंगे कि let's see like what is exactly happening. तो we know that ये जो sorted array है, this is the sorted array, and if you are replacing this, one second, is my screen visible or not? Yeah. So what exactly you can do? तो यहाँ कर सकते हैं कि हम देख we are seeing कि when we are updating the kth index, we should note that this 4 and 3 that was on the left, this thing just like shifted towards the right by 1 unit, right? See this one, this thing shifted right by 1 unit. Take another example. Let's say like replace this thing by 9, right? So what will be the new array? The new array will be 9, 7, 4, 3, and 1. In this case you will see that like this original thing 743, this thing got just like shifted right by 1, right? So basically this thing is shifting there by 1. So this is one thing that we noticed. Now what happens like if we replace this thing by -1? Okay, then the new array will look like 7, 4, 3, 1, -1. Clearly in this case we see that like this one is the kth index, right? Okay, so this one like just move towards this by 1 unit, correct? This thing moved towards the left by 1 unit, and in all these cases like it was moving towards right by 1 unit. So one thing to note here is if the kth element is some value, and if we are replacing it by a larger value, then the portion that is on the left side is moving towards the kth index by 1 unit. If the number is smaller, for example -1 is smaller than 2, then the portion that is on the right side is moving towards the index, right, towards the correct index. Basically in any case what is happening is the array is trying to move towards the kth index, right, like this, depending on like by what value you are replacing. So this is one observation. And how did I know this observation? Because I dry ran this on multiple test cases on pen and paper, right? So this is like one thing that you need to do, and then like upon understanding the observation we can like solve the problem further. So the next thing to note is basically the entire array is not exactly moving towards left or right, but the portion which is the portion which will move will be determined by the value that we are inserting. So when we inserted 5 in between, then we saw that like what should be the position of 5 here, somewhere here, right? So the portion which is after 5 and until this kth index, only this portion moved here. Similarly, we noticed that this one, when we inserted 9, the 9 will be inserted here, right? So the portion which is on the right side of this 9 until the last element till the kth index, right? Like just before the kth, this whole thing moved right. So not the entire array is moving right, but the portion will be determined by the new value that we are adding, right? So that is like a second observation. Similarly, we observe that okay, like -1 should have a position here. So everything that is on the right of -1, just like on the left, this whole thing like move here by 1 unit. Similarly, if you try it on multiple test cases, you will observe something and just like take a note of this thing. Okay, so here, sorry guys, my handwriting. Sorry. So the array tends to swing towards the care index, right? So upon like this observation, if you run it on multiple test cases, like you will see like certain more observation, and then like upon those observations, build your solution. So that's how you know like, sir ऐसे क्यों आपने सोचा? तो you do not get that okay ये problem पढ़ा है and ऐसे करना है. We know that like we need to do this thing because we run it on try cases. So this is like one very important thing that I want to emphasize. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. Yeah. So that was just like one example or demonstration that like how uh, this is like one way to do, and I think like this is very important. So how to approach a question? Just start with trying some example cases on pen and paper and take note of the observations. And when you take note of the observation, build your solution upon those observations, and that's how like you build a solution. Unless like you have already some experience on similar problems, only on those cases you may not need to write like those examples, but in almost all other questions it is always helpful to write it on example cases. That way we'll see like corner cases, like the exact strategy, some observation, and that's how you build the solution. Cool. How to start CP? I think like I have partially answered this question earlier as well. So how to start CP, right? Start CP by solving problems that you are already aware of. For example, if you are coming from school, then you are definitely know simple math. So you know addition, multiplication, simple calculation, simple counting. So solve problems that are based on those, right? If you have like some background in programming, then maybe like you are familiar with the strings. So like maybe start with palindrome, arrays, and things like that. So start from there. Um, so that's how like you start CP. But before that, as I said, like you have to have a preparation, that you have a team as in a circle of friends who are also doing CP, maybe a mentor, and those all those strategies that like we talked about. And then like you can start from anything, right? Cool. There is another question. If you are getting started with learning a language for CP, then I would prefer learn C++. If you already know Java, well, then you can continue with that. Yeah, that is. So, Anurag Nagpal has a question. Would you recommend Java for CP? Can we get that question on the screen? Okay, so this is the answer, but anyways, so I again like the answer is along the same lines. If you are already familiar with Java, I think like you should start with Java only. Or maybe if in your school or college, like if you are learning Java, then probably like it is better to start with that. If in your school, college, or anywhere else, like if you are learning Python, then like start with that. So you could start with any language. Learning a programming language is not that big job in my opinion. Once you know a programming language, then extending your knowledge and learning another programming language is not that too difficult. So yeah, start with like any programming language, and then you could always change program. So I started with C, then C++. I also did some problems in Java at times, and I'm also like fairly uh, proficient for like competitive programming perspective on Python. So it depends on the problem to problem, or just like on your mood. You could start with any language. How to transition from full stack web developer to software development engineer? Does only CP help? Um, So this is question from Joel Vinay Kumar. How to transition from full stack web developer to software development engineer? Answer is no, like straight away no. Does only CP help? I don't think so. So as a full stack engineer, software development engineer, basically you need like certain skills, and you need to have those skills. If you have been uh, let's say like a web developer for a while, and then like you want to do like engineership, then like you need to learn those things. CP directly doesn't give you those benefits. I think this is my favorite topic, what how exactly CP helps. So I'm going to talk about this thing next. But the answer is no, like only CP doesn't help. Like you have to have those skills that are necessary for ST position. Next. How can I? Okay, cool. So like, can we move to the next slide, and then like I will take up some questions later on as well. Yeah, how to use CodeChef to apply newly learned topics. CodeChef has a vast variety and archive of problems. So let's say like you learned something about uh, string or arrays. Just like search string or arrays and CodeChef, and then like you will have a lot of problems. Try and like solve those. See, read the tutorial, see other contestants' solution, and learn. So that's how like CodeChef can help you in basically applying your knowledge to that you have learned recently. How to be consistent, this is like very interesting. How to be consistent? I think like this is a not question for CP, like this is a question in general. Like whenever you commit to something, then how do you like remain consistent? um, I think if someone is motivating, or like you are like watching some motivational video, all those things maybe are instantaneously helpful, but they are in general not helpful at all, in my opinion, or and in my experience at least. So what is helpful then? So yeah, so then how do you remain consistent? I think the only thing that helps is discipline. Like you should have a schedule and you should be disciplined. And that is the only and the best source of motivation, in my opinion. So if you are disciplined, then you can be consistent. Otherwise, I don't think like you can be consistent with anything. And now particularly about CP, having a good friend circle who also does CP, discussing that with them, so that way it will help you not getting bored, but it may not help you like remain consistent. The only thing that will help you remain consistent is to have you have to be disciplined in the sense, okay, like every day, let's say I have to solve these many problems. Yeah, every week I have to solve these problems, or every long contest I have to take part, or every cook off I have to take part. At times like you will feel like, okay yaar jaane dete hain, aaj nahi karenge. So you have to like come over that, and you have to be disciplined. So I think like that is the only way to be consistent, at least in my opinion. Next question from the slide. Yeah, so many questions, many people are asking about Java, Python, C++, like what language you have to start. So learning multiple languages versus one language. Um, so my opinion on this is, it is not bad that you know many languages or multiple languages. It is always helpful. You have a variety of knowledge, and you always know like some new things, right? So it's good. Learning multiple languages, knowing multiple languages is good. But is it like very important, keeping in mind the context of competitive programming? I think maybe not that much. Why? Because in competitive programming, the focus is not that how well you know the programming language or how many languages you know, but basically it requires you that how well you know your subject. So basically, how well you know the data structures, how well you know problem solving, how well you know like all the other topics that frequently comes. So these are like very very important, and then translating those ideas and those solution into any programming language is should not be a big deal once you know any programming language. So learning multiple languages is easy task. Don't spend like too much time if you are doing CP, but it has other advantages as I said earlier. So if those are your focus areas, then like why not do learn. uh, Sometimes some other language will be helpful. If there is a big string question, then like maybe Python will be like very simple to do. Sometimes Java may be like simple to do, and things like that. Sometimes C++ will be helpful. So if you know multiple language, it is always useful, but maybe like not that helpful that like you entirely focus on that instead of solving problems. Cool. So that is my take on that. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think this is one more interesting thing, and like sort of like funny thing for me that people always get confused with how competitive programming and placements are related, right? So wha- when you become an engineer, you do not solve any data structure problem. Then like why do the guys on Google, like at Google or any other companies, like ask data structure problems and like DP problems? Like are they really getting used there? Of course, like very very less likely. Then why they are always asking these kind of questions? But like that Google or like the Falana company is my favorite company, that means like the company must be good, and they know that like this is not a good strategy, and like how they are good. These are like some questions that always come to my mind, and many people think about these things. Why? So, from my experience, so my background on this, I have done CP, and I have been a junior engineer, senior engineer. I was a recruiter for junior candidates, like freshers and like under 4 year experienced candidates. And I also used to interview candidates who are more than 4 year experience. So why is it important, and like what was at least like my understanding or my colleagues understanding why these kind of questions are generally asked? um, I have been an engineer. I know that like this suffix array was practically, I think like I never used that. I also didn't use segmentary as a data structure in my code base, or neither did I use any other like heavy data structure. Neither did I use binary index tree, nor a very complicated combinatorial problem, or neither did I use like some prime factorization algorithm in my engineering career so far. But I'm not saying that like these are never getting used. Like they most certainly do getting used, but not that much. Like very very little. So that is one. Then why? Then why do we ask this question? I used to ask this question. I knew that like okay these things are not getting used. This is because the core skills that are developed while you do CP. So, what are those core skills? I have talked about these things multiple times. Again, I am repeating it. So, when you do CP, as a good engineer, we want you to have like some qualities. What are those? Some of those qualities. You should know how to strategize. You have 10 problems and 3 hours or 5 hours. You need to prioritize, and as an engineer it is very interesting and important that like you know how to prioritize. And when you take part in contest, like you learn that by default how to prioritize, कितना time देना है debugging में, कितना time देना है, whether I have to leave this problem or not. So you know like how to prioritize things, and that is very important skill to have. Number one, um, you have a lot of things to do, but like you have limited time, so you know like how to optimize those things, right? You have a problem and it is not getting passed, so in competitive programming problem and it is not getting passed, so you know that there are like at least 5 6 ways to optimize that problem, but you know what is the low hanging fruit, what needs to be optimized first. Is it worth optimizing that like replace vector by your own resizable array, or is it important to maybe use inline code instead of deep recursive code, or maybe like some heavy data structure, is it important to like replace segment tree by a fenwick tree? So you know that like there are multiple ways to optimize that, but you also know like what is most important, what you need to do first, right? So that is a skill that is very very necessary as an engineer, right? And one other thing that you learn is basically you read the problem and you learn how to filter out garbage, and you know like how to filter in the what the question is asking, right? So you say that like in 1 minute like Kennedy will submit within less than 2 minutes, like Kennedy will submit the 250 problem, right? Uh, because like he has such a skill that he reads the problem and he knows like what to read and what not to read, like how to filter out things. And so filtering out things, you know, like what to filter in and what to like reject, that is also a like good thing to have, right? And on top of all these, as an engineer we want you to know some programming as well. Right, of course, like you are a software engineer, so you need to know programming. Maybe you are a mathematician and you have like all those skills, but if you are you cannot write them or you cannot translate your ideas into a programmer into a program, then like you are not a programmer, you are not a software engineer, right? Of course you can learn those skills and then you will be useful, but I am saying that like you are not a good software engineer until then, right? So CP teaches you many many core skills. These were just to name a few, but in my opinion, there are many many basic skills that you develop while you do CP, and those things are very important for software engineer. They are not directly used the CP problems, but the skills that you develop while doing CP are very important, right? So that's why this like recruitment has this relationship with CP, I think. That is number one. Number two is this is not the perfect way or the foolproof way to recruit, right? So maybe like some people are not doing CP, still they have like most of these skills. So we are just like filtering them out. You are right, we know that we are filtering some people out, but then as a company like you know need to optimize on certain things, right? So you have limited resources, you have only 5 recruiter for example, or 50 recruiter. You could definitely interview 100 people, but it will be hard for you to interview 10,000 people. So you have to have some criteria to filter people out, right? And while doing so, maybe your filter is not ideal, it is not optimal, but it is a filter, and in most of the cases like it is working. You know that it is not working on all the cases, right? We know that. Google knows that. So that is number two, that it is something that is working for the most cases, but we know that it is not perfect. We are also filtering out some people who are worthy, right? So because we need to optimize our resources as a organization, as a company, correct? So that is number two, I think. So one, we in general you develop a lot of qualities that are required as a software engineer while doing CP. Number two, limited resources with the companies. And I think like mostly like these two things, right? There are many smaller things, but like those can either be clubbed with one of these points, right? And interview questions, how they are related with CP. So interview questions are related with CP, and when you do CP, you are already familiar with a lot of problems, and when you go to interviews, they are very very related to them. So why not use your expertise and your use your knowledge in solving the interview problems? It is good, like you just have to use your lever and get there, right? So yeah, it will help you in placements because like you are already familiar with the type of or the kind of problem that interviewer may ask. It is not always true, but in many cases you we have seen that like this is true. Then as I said earlier, this is not the only way. So if you want to get to Google, it is not the only way to do CP, then only you will get to Google. Okay? There are many other paths. This is one of the simpler path that the company wants to take, and because they know this is like one simple thing that they can do and mostly filter good people in. But this is not the only way. You have like different paths to get into those companies as well. So CP is the only way? No, of course not. It is one easy way. Yeah, sure. Like it is one easy way. Cool. So that's basically all that I would like to talk about placements and CP. And now I would like to take some questions that we have, or just let's move to the next slide and see if we have something else to discuss. Cool. Yeah. So any questions that you guys have. I would like to answer them. Sweta and Pallavi and team, like if you guys have any question, like please put, if you have shortlisted any question, please put them on the screen and I will answer them. And I'm also like going through the questions. So Ritesh Kumawat asked this question: how to approach a question and what is the thinking process behind it? If you can tell us with a simple example. Ritesh, I think maybe like you missed it. I took an example from the October 20 challenge and showed that like how solving some example, try running some examples helps uh, things, right? Yeah. Yeah, there is a question. Should we practice problems randomly or topic wise? Can we get that question on the screen? Should we practice problems randomly or topic wise? Cool. So I think it is helpful to. So there are like two ways to go about it, in my opinion. But I generally prefer, most of the time I will prefer that I read a topic and solve some problems to get like clear concept about that. But the other way could be go and solve a contest problem, all the five problems, try and like see how many you can solve and what you could not, and then like read the tutorial for the problems that you could not, and see what is the new thing that was involved, and then learn it, solve the problem, code it, and get it accepted, right? So that is one way. But I will be I think like I will not suggest practicing problems randomly in the sense I think you mean कि बस कोई भी question pick कर लिया and then like start solving it. uh, of course you will be learning new things, but like it will not be like fully strategized, and like you don't know like whether you are moving on the good path or not. Like it will be hard to track your progress and all this thing. So maybe like it should be topic wise, but then I think it depends on person to person how you like to solve problems. But one thing that I would certainly make I want to point out is कि just don't stop there. मतलब if you studied one topic, shortest path problem, then you should not stop there कि, okay, uh, we, I learned this topic and like solved five problems kada. Then you know that like what the problem that you are solving is asking for the extra or one of the shortest path algorithm. But when you go to the contest, you read the problem, it doesn't say that you have to use the extra, but you have the extra as a tool, or the shortest path algorithm as a tool. It is important that you know that you need to apply that tool in your problem. So because of that, you should always solve contest problem. So just don't stop there. You learned the problem, learned the topic, and like solved some problems, and like just stopped. That way you already know that like, okay, I have to use one of the extra or like one of the shortest path problem. So you didn't like learn that uh, which tool to apply that, because you already knew that like this इसी tool से खुलेगा, right? That's why like I would say also not really random, but like some contest problems, so that will give you that exposure as well. Problem पढ़े and then like you decided, you thought out about the topic that you, the tool that needs to be used. That is one point. Cool. Next question: what topic should I focus more to reach 4 to 5 star? My rating is bouncing between 3 to 2 star. Gaurav Datta, I have not taken part in this contest like recently, but your question has been implicitly answered when I was answering the strategy part. So why not do that? Make a strategy something like this. Okay, in the next 30 days or 60 days, I will solve the last 20 long challenge question, and from each contest I will definitely solve the first six problems or first five problems. तो सारे कॉन्टेस्ट के जो पहले 5 प्रॉब्लम हैं, जो लास्ट 20 लॉन्ग चैलेंज के, वो सारे सॉल्व करने हैं। एंड यू मेक ए स्प्रेडशीट and you will see that like what kind of problem you are able to do, and which kind of problem requires reading editorial, and which problem you are like just not finding comfortable even after reading the editorial. Then you will know that what are the areas that you need to focus on, because the answer is not unique for everyone, because I don't know like whether you are good at math, you are good at string, you are good at data structures, or like what, you know that very well. And you need to find out the what are the kind of questions that are coming, and what are your strong areas and where you need to work. So that's how you do it. Nobody can tell you that what. So that is like one very important thing. You need to find out what you need to do, and that how you could do. You track your progress, and you will know that okay, what needs to be done and what doesn't. So Sweta, can we go back to the slide where I showed how I used to track my progress back then, so that he has some idea. Yeah, like this slide, correct. So in this slide, you will see that like I used to have like these kind of things. So this contest number 422, like 250 problem, 500 problem, 1000 problem, and I used to have like one line, two line comment, and see like how many of them are green, yellow, red, and then only I would know like what I need to do next. Similarly, you can have your own strategy. You can have like your own plan, and based on that, you will know what needs to be done. Cool. Cool. We are also running out of time, so I will just pick some problem. Amit V. Kumar Pujar, sir, which code editor is better to submit the programs quickly, VS Code or Sublime Text? Amit, I have not done contest recently, so I am not sure like which has better plugins. You just like need to Google any editor that you are comfortable with. Personally, I was comfortable with Sublime Text. I have also used VS Code, but I was not comfortable with that. How can professional person can do CP? Prince Jain has a question. How can a professional person can do CP? So, one example, Prince Jain. When I used to do programming actively in CodeChef, there was a person with the handle DJ Dolls, and he's fairly senior. He's also from IIT Kanpur, but like he used to take part in contests, and not only take part, like he used to like win the contests, and he was fairly senior. I think like I met him like personally once, but certainly like was very senior and professional. He had worked in Nokia when Nokia was there, and then like at that time he was working in Google. But he used to nail every contest that he used to take part. Like everybody was, at least like I was taking part only to try to get the second rank in India, and not the first rank, because like he was just too good. And so the bottom line is, how can professional person can do CP? Well, you can do CP. Uh, uh, so basically, you need to prioritize certain things. In everybody's life, you have many things to do, and you just need to see what is more important at that point in time. Uh, I don't know, like if you think you can dedicate 1 hour or like 2 hour on weekends and do CP because you enjoy it, then do it. But maybe like some for some other person, like it will be more enjoyable if they go to a beach and then like sit there the whole day and just like enjoy the waves. So for them, like maybe like that is very interesting. uh, it depends. Like if you enjoy it, I think like you should spend some time. I also know Akashdeep Nen. He, while being a professional, like he also actively did competitive programming, and he was also read in CodeForces. So there are examples like that. People do them, uh, and they just like prioritize it. Like they put some time on CP. They set some target, I think, and that's how they do. For me, after I became professional, I think like gradually, like I started spending less time on CP because of other priorities. But yeah, you just need to set your priority. Cool. I think I have answered most of the questions, or basically questions that can be clubbed under some topic. So that is pretty much it. And right now, I would like to hand over uh, this session to the CodeShip Shweta and her team. And Yeah, I think like that's it. Shweta, can you take a lead from here?
Yeah. Okay. So Triveni, like on behalf of everyone present here, I would like to thank you. Thank you so much for taking out the time to help all of us understand the nuances of competitive programming, the approach to solve a problem and to translate it into a code. I think overall the session was really fruitful. So thank you so much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you all lovely people out there, thank you for being a part of our fiesta. Please show some love and give us a big like to tell us how much you liked today's session. Do check out our website if you wish to know more about CodeChef College chapters. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to follow us on different social media channels. I hope you all enjoyed the fiesta as much as I did. I will see you all super soon. Until then, please take care.